have former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, General Wesley Clark. And we have the CIA's former lead national intelligence officer, key guest tonight, on Iran, Norman Rule. Norman, thank you for joining us. General, as always, first of all, as you do when I speak to you privately, General, feel free to correct me about what my reporting is and the sense of suggestion about what it would mean in and around Kharg Island.
Well, I'm not too impressed by the attack on Kharg Island. I'm glad we got rid of the military stuff there, but if you got rid of the military equipment and the Straits of Hormuz are closed, they're not going to be exporting anything anyway. So that doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz. If you want the Strait of Hormuz opened, you're going to have to fight for it, and it's going to be a tough fight, and it's more than what a Marine expeditionary force can handle. It is a huge, huge problem. We've looked at it for 40 years. We know how tough it is, and we know that there's a whole series of islands and then a bunch of other stuff that has to be taken. It has to be, it's a core size 30,000, 40,000 man force that will take losses if we have to take that Straits of Hormuz. And even then, you've got the ability on the Iranians to be able to attack ships anywhere in the Persian Gulf, as they did with their automated speedboats 2 nights ago. And they weren't anywhere near Strait of Hormuz. They were off the coast of Iraq. And so this is a big, big body of water, Chris. This is 500 miles long. It's 200 miles wide.
Right.
It looks little on this map. It will absorb tens of thousands of U.S. troops if we have to clear it by force. And
I spoke tonight, General, to a.
Wait, you got to go in with decisive force if you use ground troops. Don't go in there with a battalion of Marines. If you're going to do it, you better do it with full knowledge that you must overwhelm the enemy, not pick at him.
Understood, General. I was talking to a bond agent earlier who works in the commodities markets, the oil import-export, specifically in that region. And that was their immediate point, was it's not just about the Strait. The whole part is too reachable. They were worried about light piracy now, but the ability to reach them will expand well beyond the Strait in terms of their financial and safety concerns. Norman, from an intelligence perspective of what we understand about this regime, what the Secretary of War says, they're desperate. That's all you're seeing is raging against the dying of the light. What do people need to understand about the mentality of these zealots?
Well, I think we have to understand first that everyone who sits around the table today in Tehran sat around the table the day before this conflict began. They were individuals chosen by the previous Supreme Leader because they were trusted. They were also chosen by the previous Supreme Leader because they didn't have a power center that would be either capable of challenging the previous Supreme Leader or interested in challenging the Supreme Leader. They had a common worldview. They had a common sense of how the revolution should be fought, and they were supportive of the goals of the Revolutionary Guard in general. This is a continuation of that previous regime led by basically a younger man, the son of the Supreme Leader, whose wife was killed and whose father has been killed. It's going to be more aggressive. They're not just fighting for victory in this conflict. They're fighting to make sure that once this conflict is over, that 6 weeks later, the Israelis or the United States won't try to kill them again with a pager. So they've got to defeat the United States or leave this conflict with some sort of assurance that they're going to be able to survive in a longer perspective. And this is going to extend this in some ways. But this said, they're losing missiles every day, they're losing drones, and they're losing capacity with every hour. So in this sense, the Secretary of War's comments were quite accurate that the United States military is performing superbly.
But that's not enough to take out the regime. If you take down their capabilities from a perspective of their formation and their ability to sustain damage, what does it take to actually render them no longer a threat to America or the region?
It takes a lot more. So let me give you an example. If you were to push a convoy through the Strait of Hormuz, you have the issue of drones attacking that convoy. So some small number of mines, some small number of speedboats are always going to be a threat, and you've got to maintain some
Mm.
capacity of being able to deter them. And in the end of the day, that drone threat is going to take a tremendous amount of work. So this is going to, at the very least, last a couple more weeks of intensive air campaign to gnaw that away. But even then, I think Iran is going to have some sort of drone capacity to threaten the region. So unless the regime's DNA changes because of some change in their leadership through kinetic action, we are going to have the same types of people to threaten the region.
So, General, a big feature of your leadership in messaging was you liked to engage in the minutia of strategy. You liked for people to have questions about what was going on that you would answer not by giving up operational security, obviously. We wouldn't even understand most of what you were talking about, but to make it very clear that you had anticipated whatever you were being asked about. Do you see that in this administration, in the posture specifically of the Secretary of War, attacking people for asking the questions and simply saying, look, we see what you see. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got this.
I understand that Secretary Hegseth wants public support, and I understand he doesn't want a lot of second guessing and so forth. But as you look at the strategic design of the campaign, it seems as though they prioritized the Straits of Hormuz and clearing it and getting the oil moving pretty far down the list. And I'm sure they thought at some point they're going to have to deal with it. But first, you had to get rid of the enemy's air defenses, and then you had to get rid of the missiles, and then you had to get rid of the drones, and then you had to, and this was after you took out the top leadership. Well, that's all true, but it turns out that blocking the straits is what we're calling it, but really it's controlling and stopping the export of oil and fertilizer and helium and a lot of other things that come out of that region is a real it's a real weakness of the campaign because we can't fix it. It sets the clock ticking against us. So we've released oil from the strategic stockpile, okay? That's about 20 days worth of relief. But it's possible that the Iranian regime will say, okay, look, enough's enough. You got my Kharg Island, so forth. But as former CIA Representative Rule says, it's not likely. I mean, these people are what Secretary Rumsfeld would have called dead enders. They built a whole state designed to support the destruction of the state of Israel, and if they could do it, the United States. So they're not likely to sort of say, well, we've lost a lot of people here, and let's give up. So you're going to have an embittered group of people who want revenge. It's going to be very tough. And so it's probably unlikely that they're going to give up. And if they do, you're not sure they've really given up. So that's why, Chris, I think this
Right.
is more than a 5 or 6 week problem, unless you get mediation. Now, maybe the Chinese, Xi Jinping, will come in and tell the Iranians, look, I want my oil. Let's knock this off. But he won't do it without a price, and that price might be Taiwan.
Oh, boy, that's some variable. See, look, I mean, this is the whole point, though, right, Norman? This is why when you guys are asked about these situations, there's always 50 pages of alternative explanations. And on the other hand, when you look at this situation from an intelligence perspective, how many different levels do you have to account for and what will determine the outcome from here?
Well, it's complicated, but at the end of the day, the Iranian government tends to be interested in its own equities first. The Chinese have limited influence over its decision making. The Russian government has limited influence over that decision making, and even within that own circle of decision makers, it's a bit of a shark tank of decision makers amongst themselves. So it's a tough environment for policymakers to deal with, and over the years, they've got hard decisions. If these rulers in Iran survive, these are the same people who are likely to seek a nuclear weapon, the survival of the Quds Force and the Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, and empowering them with weapons to control the Red Sea and the progress of their missile program, to include perhaps an ICBM program. So that's a reality.
Yep, that's exactly
So,
right.
Norman, when you look at this, as things stand right now, this is my last question for you two right now. And thank you very much, especially on the Friday night, for helping us understand this. Norman, I'll start with you. Watching as you are and understanding as you do, what is your level of confidence that this is being done in a way that has a reasonable chance of leading to the removal of the regime?
It's too early to tell. I think we're still early in the game. We have an extraordinary military. This is a difficult environment. There is nothing easy about Iran, no matter which administration is in power. We don't see everything that's going on. I'm not willing to call the shots. I've worked with multiple administrations. I'll just say we're early in the game. We'll see.
General, would you be echoing the messaging that's coming out of the administration right now that, look, this isn't going to last long. We already won. And when I feel it in my bones, I'm going to get out. But we're just crushing them. They're dying. They're raging against the dying of the light.
I understand why that messaging's coming out, Chris, but it's dangerous messaging because it undercuts the credibility of the administration. In fact, the air campaign's going very well by its ability to strike targets. There's no doubt the Iranians are losing, but if you didn't account for the ability to get the oil out, to protect our neighbors there and friends in the Gulf, then you can't continue this campaign indefinitely. And so when you say it's going very well, I can tell you the Emiratis don't think it's going well. The Kuwaitis don't think it's going well. The Saudis don't think it's going that well. They signed on with the United States because we were going to protect them. Well, we haven't. So I always think it's better to be realistic about something. I know the president feels like he doesn't have the support of the American people. I think this is a conflict that was inevitable. I think we couldn't allow them to get nuclear weapons. I understand that, but you've got to have the complete campaign plan. And I think there's been an excessive emphasis on the lethality of the Air Force and not thinking through the whole problem of getting the oil moving and protecting our friends in the region.
Well, I think that what has become clear 2 weeks in is this isn't about people not wanting America to win. It's people being concerned that America won't win if things continue to look this way. Those are two very different mindsets. General, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Norman, thank you for being on the show. It's good to have you. I hope we have you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.